Hi, everyone, and welcome to Be True, my podcast about the writing I love and the writing I do. I promise I won't rhyme the whole time. I'm John Tessitore, and today, When a Seeker Finds the Light, from my brand new chapbook, The Dark Ways Mysterious. You can find all of my work, including The Dark Ways Mysterious, at johntessitore.com. As I mentioned on a previous episode, episode 42, if you're keeping track, The Dark Ways Mysterious is about the devils that make us human. Here's what the back copy says. The Dark Ways Mysterious examines the energies, creative, erotic, Promethean, that define what it means to be human, as well as what is dangerous and forbidden, a pastiche of voices and styles spanning the history of art and literature from Genesis and Sappho to Robert Johnson and Nabokov. It is a poem of pieces that explores the forbidden creativity of the fallen man, the pride and science of discovery. That last bit, the forbidden creativity of the fallen man, the pride and science of discovery, is a quote. It comes from today's poem, When a Seeker Finds the Light. This poem is an important fragment in the larger work, a case statement of sorts, and a good introduction. It also came about in a way that seems both obvious and inexplicable later. I had been writing poems on these themes for a while, energy poems, about the connection between creativity and transgression, sin, hubris. One day I realized I had a lot of them. Vignettes, historical monologues, ekphrastic exercises, all revolving around ideas of productive and hidden knowledge. I had enough of these poems to start asking questions. Most importantly, is it a book? And then one morning there it was, staring at me from my Instagram account. A picture. More precisely, a photo-based image with wax. A luminous depiction of a muscular naked man reaching for a sphere of light. It was the work of my friend Bill Travis, a wonderful visual artist and, like me, a devotee of Walt Whitman. If I was wondering whether or not I had a book on my hands, I knew it now because there was my cover, if Bill allowed it, which he has, to my great delight. The picture is erotic, religious, mythological, suggestive of Atlas shouldering the world, or, better yet, Prometheus stealing fire from mortals. And it also reminded me of William Blake, the visionary romantic poet and engraver who was born in 1757 and died in 1827. His pictures, called Illuminations, have the same oversized, erotic, muscular spirituality and luminosity as Bill's picture, and his poems ask many of the same questions I'd been asking. Until that moment, I'd considered John Milton and the Bible and Beethoven to be among the inspirations for the new poems I'd been writing, but Bill's picture slapped my face. How the hell had I forgotten Blake, whose songs of innocence and experience, and whose marriage of heaven and hell, are the templates for any work that explores the conflict between good and evil, knowledge and purity, sin and grace. You know Blake's work, I know you do. At least you know the ubiquitous, forever anthologized poem, The Tiger. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night. I'm going to read the whole thing to refresh your memory, and I hope you'll hear it anew. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what dread grasp dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? That second stanza is everything to me. In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? That's the intensity, the life force, that I had been exploring all along. Blake, like so many of his contemporaries, Wordsworth, Coleridge, Keats, and later in the U.S., Emerson, Thoreau, and Whitman, was looking for the sacred in new places, in wild places, even in dangerous places. In tigers, for example. Who could dream up a creature as beautiful and deadly as a tiger? In what version of the universe is such fire and darkness possible at the same time? For Blake and his contemporaries, polite society and institutional religion were missing something vital, something we've incorrectly labeled primitive, a fire, an erotic energy, a life force. And so I decided then and there that I needed a reference to Blake's aesthetic in my book as well. I'd already included the voices of many other artists, but I needed a Blakean moment now, and one that responded to Bill's picture too, an exercise in Blakean ekphrasis. When a Seeker Finds the Light is that poem. When a seeker finds the light, he cannot let it go. Into his outstretched body he absorbs its glow until it becomes him, and he will shun civility and the suburban dream for a single flame. The splendor that shines on him from the heavens will not be freed from his fearful grasp, nor will he agree to release his lust, forbidden creativity of the fallen man, the pride and science of discovery. Since the shadow of death is never far, nor the chill of darkness, and he will never have another chance to stand beneath the sun, naked as sin and strong enough to challenge the god Apollo with his own song. Let the god's mighty wrath rain down. In the rhymes and rhythm, in some of the word choices, in the exclamation points you can't see in a podcast but may be able to hear as I read, this is a Blakean poem, with a sprinkling of Greek mythology too. There's Marsyas again, for example, the flute-playing satyr who was the subject of episode 39 of this podcast, the one who challenges Apollo. But it's Blake revised for the 21st century, a more explicit Blake, a Blake more willing to say the quiet part out loud. The splendor that shines on him from the heavens will not be freed from his fearful grasp, nor will he agree to release his lust. That's revised Blake just as Bill Travis's cover image seemed to be a 21st century revision of Blake's Illuminations, just as The Dark Ways Mysterious as a whole is a revision of a wide range of voices, a pastiche that draws out a common theme in artistic and literary history, the ongoing conflict between what is most human and what is forbidden. You might even think of my little book as an entire album of cover versions. And so, in the hope that you live as close to hellfire as you can without getting burned, this is John Tessitore concluding another installment of Be True. If you've listened this long, thank you. You can find all of my work, including The Dark Ways Mysterious, at johntessitore.com. But first, 3 things. Number 1, go read some Blake and Google his Illuminations and have yourself a perfectly acceptable acid trip. Number 2, check out the cover of The Dark Ways Mysterious and all of Bill Travis's gorgeous work at billtravis.art. I am so honored that Bill was willing to work with me on this little book. And finally, the short musical interlude this week is the bridge of a Doors song called End of the Night, which was the B-side to Break On Through. The lyrics of the bridge are taken from Blake's poem, Auguries of Innocence. Go listen to the original on the Doors' eponymous first album, which could be the soundtrack to The Dark Ways Mysterious. This is my most Morrison work yet. Special thanks to me for today's theme music, which I call F Chord. Maybe we'll talk again later, and if you enjoyed this little podcast, leave some stars or a review and tell your friends. In the meantime, gotta feed the dog. All right, Luna, I'm coming.